Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about aggression and antisocial behavior. So there are different types of aggression that we'll be focusing on today. The first is hostile aggression. Hostile aggression is behavior motivated by feelings of anger and hostility. And the primary goal is to harm another person and to harm that person either physically or psychologically. So anger and hostility is what began these feelings of aggression, and you want to hurt somebody. You want to hurt them physically, or you want to cause psychological and emotional pain to them. It's instrumental aggression, behavior intended to harm another in the surface of motives other than pure hostility. In other words, you are pursuing some goal, and along the way, people get hurt. That wasn't the primary focus of your goal, but it's just a thing that happened. You might think about this in terms of people who got hurt were collateral damage en route to something you wanted to do. So, attracting attention, acquiring wealth, advancing your political or ideological ideas. In order to advance your political career, several people get hurt and destroyed. Situational determinants of aggression. This concerns us greatly. Right now, we are in lovely Texas with temperatures going up as high as 104 degrees. Higher temperatures are related to higher rates of aggressions. And the reason for this is because feelings of discomfort caused by the heat might be misattributed to people. In other words, you're already angry and upset because you're uncomfortable because it's 104 degrees, and you think that someone said something to you and that they're the cause of your anger. We know statistically, for instance, think about this the next time you watch a baseball game. Baseball pitchers much more likely to hit a batter in hotter temperatures. Oftentimes, we see an increase in violent crimes in urban areas during the summertime, where there's a higher overall temperature. So feelings of heat created a discomfort, and they create an area where people tend to hurt and act out and aggress against others. So there is some evidence that media violence can increase aggressive behaviors, especially in today's world. In today's world where a violent act happens and then the video plays over and over and over again on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. There is some effect of childhood media consumption. So the level to which you've consumed more media as a child might affect the extent to which you have feelings of aggression as an adult. After playing video games, specifically violent ones, students reported being more likely to be aggressive against someone who gave them negative feedback than if they had played a non-violent game. So you're more likely to act out when someone gives you criticism if you've been exposed to violent video games. So there's something going on there that affects that. This is a thing we talk about sometimes in Death and Dying, the weapons effect. If you and I were in a classroom right now, and I brought a katana blade to the classroom, what would happen invariably, inevitably, is someone would walk up to the desk, pick up the katana blade, and start swinging it around. More people would join in, and eventually somebody would get stabbed, somebody would lose an arm, somebody might lose an eyeball, somebody would pretend that they're a Ninja Turtle and wind up cutting themselves. The dean would get brought in, I'd probably get fired. So the weapons effect is the idea that the mere presence of a weapon makes you more likely to use it. and that the mere presence of a weapon increases the likelihood that someone will get injured around it. So a big hot button topic for today, guns. Now, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, you're pro Second Amendment, anti-Second Amendment, pro guns, not pro guns, if you think everybody should get a weapon, if you think everybody should have 2 weapons, if you think all guns should be banned, whatever side of the aisle you're on, I'm speaking to the statistics, not the politics. Statistically speaking, the mere presence of a gun in a house, even if the gun is supposed to be locked up, the mere presence of the gun in the house exponentially increases the risk that someone gets shot and killed by it. And indeed, that's what we see. Homes where guns are present, even if they're securely locked up, tend to have more people shot on the inside. So the mere presence of the weapon causes these things and is affected to these things. It's one of the reasons that people have the conversation of the total bans of guns. Because when you ban guns from a place, people statistically, again, not politically, I'm not trying to trample on your political beliefs, but statistically, when guns are not present, people do not die. Another situational determinant, social rejection. Social rejection in adolescence is very likely to lead to aggressive behaviors in later adolescence and adulthood. The reason for this is that we as a species have a need to belong. Social rejection is oftentimes thought and attributed to be one of the reasons for school shootings and other major acts of aggression. Now, in the South, we have what's called the culture of honor. This culture that's defined by its members' strong concerns about their own and others' reputations, leading to sensitivity to slights and insults, and a willingness to use violence to avenge perceived wrongs or insults. So someone somehow offends your honor. And in the South, we see when that happens, you're more likely to get a weapon and attack them. Because there's a strong sense of honor. Honor at all costs. Honor for the family name, honor for the family reputation. A perceived slight to that can wind up in someone getting seriously hurt. So here we have a graph from 2013. The rates of felony-related murders are similar between different regions, but argument-related murders are much more common in the US South and Southwest. In other words, people committing crime, regardless of geographic location, the rates are very similar in terms of people who get murdered. But in terms of an argument simply spiraling out of control, that happens much more in the South and Southwest. There are some gender differences. Males typically are much more likely to commit violent crimes and much more to be implicated in criminal behaviors. Additionally, males tend to be much more likely to be the victims of violence and much more likely to be physically aggressive. So males, by and large, tend to be the ones who are doing the violence and receiving the violence, by and large. Females tend to display more relational aggression. So being aggressive in ways that are more covert, socially directed, things such as spreading rumors, destroying one's reputation, insults, that kind of thing. So females, by and large, are less likely to be causing violent aggression, or to implement violent aggression, I should say. Now, it's not total, right? It's what the trend is. It's the statistical differences. There are some females who do violent behaviors, just like there are some males who do more relational aggression. But overall, this is the trend that we see. I have not yet seen any data looking at violence rates in transgender individuals. But that would be very interesting to see for both male to female and female to male rates. So perhaps something I can look up into in the future as that research is done. For conflict and peacemaking, I know that in the heat of conflict, group members are prone to misperceive their opponents and distrust their actions and proposed resolutions. So in the heat of action, I'm more likely to think you're lying to me, or you're not being honest, you're just trying to put a leg up for your group. So a thing that we need in terms of the international understanding of things, we need leaders who speak well, who speak complex, who are intelligent, and who have perspective taking. I want you to put that down somewhere in your notes. The most effective leaders in international crises are leaders who have good perspective taking. That way they can avoid escalating conflicts. Oftentimes in the heat of conflict, adversaries tend to stop communicating or separate themselves. We see this often in couples, right? See this often in couples. There's an argument, so you don't talk for a week. That is poor conflict resolution. The better resolution is to talk things through. That way you can reduce misperceptions, reduce competition, reduce aggression. All right, that's the high notes for aggression. We'll see you all later.